Okay, so people wanted to know my opinion on Overwatch 2. I played it a bunch. I played it probably like 10 hours probably so far. I played tank, I played DPS, I played all the roles really. And I must say, I am extremely disappointed at the state of that game right now. There, I actually, I'm not even joking, I had really low expectations going into it. I honestly, if you look at the trend of Overwatch since the time it was released, anytime the developers have done anything large, or small even for that matter, it somehow, the game always got worse. If you guys ever watched my streams, you would know I used to joke about that all the time. Nothing was as impressive to me about the developers of Overwatch, other than their ability to consistently make the game worse. Somehow, some way, it's unbelievable how good they were at making the game worse. And I think Overwatch 2, and I've only played the beta, is fundamentally just a worse game than Overwatch 1. And I've said this also many times on my stream. I think when game developers actually make a good game, which is rare, the rareness of it speaks to my theory that a great game involves two things: a great engine and luck. And that is how you make a great game. If you look at the gaming industry, if you look at all of the billions of dollars, all of these people getting paid, all of these tremendous artists and level designers and coders, people that write the story, people that design the characters, that write the characters, write the story, everyone is so talented. You know, there's no shortage of talented people all around the world in every industry. But it seems like every industry now is just plagued by, like, they have the sum of all of the parts, all these amazingly talented people, and then somehow at the end it just turns into shit. I don't know exactly what causes that. I'm sure many people have a wide range of explanations that are unique to you and whatever your personal viewpoint is on worldly affairs and things of that sort. But Overwatch 2, I think, is just missing the ingredients that made the first one magic. And I don't think that the game developers know what that ingredient was. And therefore, it's hard for me to even accurately identify what tangible things made Overwatch 1 such a great success. Now, I think when they removed one of the tanks, it's important that everyone knows this. They removed one of the tanks not because it made the game better, not because it was going to make the game easier to balance. The only reason that they removed one of the tanks and made the game 5v5 was because ever since they introduced roll queue, nobody was able to figure out on the developer side how to stop players from playing DPS and not playing tank. If you've played any Overwatch over the past 2 years, or however long roll queue has actually been a thing, roll queue basically, it didn't fix any of the problems that it fixed where the problem was. It did not fix the problem. It just transferred the problem into a different area. Whereas when roll queue wasn't a thing, you had the problem where no one would play tank. You would have 4 DPS, right? You'd have one healer, and it would just be chaos, right? You've all had this experience. They thought roll queue would fix this. If everyone before the game started agreed to play their role before, as soon as you got into the game, there would be none of that chaos, right? That was the theory. And it does work. But the reason that chaos existed in the first place was because they were drawing from a pool of players that were all searching, and an overwhelming majority of them were DPS players, and none of them were tank players, and less than the DPS players, there were healer players. So roll queue got rid of that chaos, but it didn't fix the problem that no one wanted to play tank. And if you ever actually looked at the queue times, tank was always less than a minute, and DPS was always like 12 minutes long. And it's because they literally, I'm not even kidding you, 10 times the amount of players want to play DPS than they want to play tank. The Overwatch developers tried everything. They made the tanks super overpowered because a lot of the complaints were, I don't play tank because I can't carry. They introduced heroes like Ball, Hammond. Disgusting. People climbed on Ball so high. People on Winston climbed so high. Dive meta. D.Va was insane. Zarya was insane. They made all of the tanks super overpowered, and this still did not solve the problem. Fast forward, the only way that they could solve this issue was to get rid of one of the tanks. So instead of having 10 times the amount of of DPS players compared to tank, now you have 5 times the DPS player compared to tank. You've cut your problem right in half at 50%. Now the queue times are going to be better for everybody by probably just 50%. But what was lost by fixing this tank playing issue? And I think a lot of the life of Overwatch was lost. The game in Overwatch 2 in the beta feels like a shell of itself. Everything that you do in the game, from ultimate usage to ability usage, none of it really feels that consequential to anything. The game almost always feels like you're kind of just in the lane, everyone's using their abilities, and it's just, there's something missing. And it's not just that tank. I think that it's that variable because, and this is just my hypothesis, if you look at all of the abilities and you look at all of the ultimates that are being used in the 6v6 format, I think that there was sort of like a perfect, chaotic, like equilibrium of variables occurring throughout the duration of a team fight, right? And if you have that correct number of abilities being used, right, in the right rhythm, Overwatch, if you've played it for a long time, when everything is clicking correctly, it feels amazing. That synergy, right? Now you've removed just one piece of that, and I think it's made the game slow down. And I think it's made the game feel more boring. And I think it's made the game feel slow-paced. And it's lost that feeling of, just for as an example, say I was on Zenyatta and a tank dives me, Winston dives on me, headshot, 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 headshot. That is so much dopamine for me as the Zenyatta player. And then the D.Va's on me, right? And she's got her matrix on me, and then it runs out. And she doesn't have her boosters. Headshot, 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 headshot. I'm on fire. Zenyatta says the voice line, right? And now there's still a tracer that needs to be cleaned up. Discord, whip around, headshot, boom, down. And then, the team fight's over, right? That's an exciting feeling in Overwatch. And you have that feeling on many, many different heroes. Zarya's one of them, Soldier's one of them, McCree's one of them. When the team fight is like really meaty and both the teams, they've got their sleeves rolled up and they're really just like brawling. There's so much of a health pool and there's so many abilities that are synergizing. And I think that Overwatch 1 had that number of variables perfect. I think it was done perfectly, and I don't know if even they knew, because remember what I said at the start, you need a good game engine and you need luck to make a great game. And I think that the Overwatch developers lucked into that perfect balance of abilities and ultimates, and now they've taken that away. So now pretty much we have just a really good game engine and we have unique heroes. But the game was not made to be played 5v5. And I don't mean that in the sense like of intent. It's kind of sad that I have to clarify that, but I just know some people will be like, how do you know what it was made to be? You didn't make it. No, but I played it. And, You don't need to be a developer to realize when a game is good and when a game is bad. In fact, I think oftentimes developers, more than anyone, will get that question wrong. I think without that extra tank, Overwatch feels like a light version of itself. Almost like a mobile game that you haven't paid to unlock the full thing yet, where like you're getting like a hint of it, but then it's like it's just not there, you know? It's just not there, and then you spend extra money so you can move on to the actual version, not the free version. I don't think the UI is better. I don't think that putting a filter on Ilios makes Ilios better. Ilios is a great map. It's one of my favorite maps. It doesn't need that stupid orange filter on it. It looked great. Now it's just darker with like an orange filter on it. That's just insulting to me as a player. Like, do you really think that's all it takes for me to make me feel like it's a different map? Fuck off. Fuck off with your filters, okay? They did the same thing in Warzone. They put a new filter on the map and they called it new. Fuck off. Like, seriously, it just makes the map look like shit. I want tonal color balance. I want color accuracy and I want color balance. I don't want a stupid fucking filter over top. It just makes everything look terrible. Look at how the colors of my shoes look, and now let's just put a filter over top and be like, oh, look, I'm in a new location now. Yeah, no, not really. You just made the location look shitty. A lot of the audio cues and a lot of the changes to the weapons, same thing. I think some of them are better and I think some of them are worse. One of the things that is worse, Junkrat's main attack, his little grenade balls or whatever they are, why are they flaming? Like when I come around a corner and a Junkrat is spamming explosives down a hallway, I don't want there to be trails of little balls coming at me. Just the balls is fine. I'm trying to shoot him. I need less stuff on my screen. I don't need a trail of flames to let me know that a Junkrat is shooting at me. Is that ever a problem that anyone had? They didn't know a Junkrat was spamming? You can literally hear his gun shooting the whole time. You can hear his balls bouncing before they explode. And if they get a direct hit on you, then that's different. But you can still hear them. You can hear his voice line. Overwatch 1 is very... the audio is very clear what is happening. Visually, it's very clear what is happening. I don't think there was any player in the world, that maybe if they had like a hearing disability or like a vision disability, maybe they wouldn't understand what's happening. But then, who cares about that? I mean, maybe if you're colorblind, it's one thing. But like, if you don't know when a fucking Zarya is grabbing, you're not going to ever be good at Overwatch. If your vision and your hearing is that disabled, the game is not made for you. Probably video games in general are not made for you. All of the extra stuff they did to make like the visuals and the audio more clear, complete waste of time. Just adds clutter to the game. Adds nothing. It doesn't add more clarity. It literally just adds nothing at all. And I am very, very concerned about Overwatch 2 at the moment. Even if Overwatch 2, even if I was excited for it right now, like say I played the beta yesterday and I was like thrilled, right? Imagine. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I still would be concerned about the future of Overwatch 2 because it's going to get stale very fast because it's not a new game, really. Now, that situation is even worse because not only is it not a new game and it was going to get stale fast just no matter what, it's now going to get stale because it sucks and it feels light. LITE, light. And it's not new. It's a shell of itself. It plays slower. And I think time will tell. And it will prove me right. And all of your favorite streamers that you watch, the same streamers that got invited by the developers to go to the studio or wherever they went, and they met all of the developers and shook their hands, and they got to put a face to the game. And you have to remember that when all of these content creators are telling you their opinions, they're not going to say anything really that critical of the game because they're going to think about the human that they met, that they spoke with. I didn't meet them, and so I don't have a face to put my criticism to. And I think Overwatch 2 sucks. And I'm very disappointed. It's almost like depressing, because I was really looking forward to it. But I don't think the game works 5v5 in the same way that it did 6v6. Maybe the game is average at best. The queue times will be better. It won't be as hard to carry. I also know that, because there's just one less person to kill. But the game is deeply, deeply flawed. And I don't know if it can be fixed. Seriously, I think it's that bad. Not that the game's that bad, but the situation is that bad. I think it's like on its deathbed, and we just don't know it yet, because it's like new and fresh. But I think that game is in trouble. Big trouble. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Overwatch 2. I hope you guys enjoy this video.